Hello and welcome back to Starting Points, to the greatest point in which you start your day. And today we'll be having a special dialogue with a researcher at the RCCCUI, or University of Indonesia Research Center for Climate Change, Muhammad Indrawan, that is here with us through Zoom in the studio. Hello, good morning, Pak Didi. How are you doing?
Good morning. I hope you are well, and thank you for the opportunity from TVRI.
Yes, good morning, Pak Didi. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we are curious to know more about this rare species discovery that we heard that you have been working on in this past period of time. So can you please share us a little bit more about what is this new rare species discovery, Pak?
Okay, thank you, Maris and Audrey. This is a discovery actually a long time ago about an endangered species that is kind of lost for more than 100 years and rediscovered with the assistance or with the participation of local communities. Indigenous people and local communities are very strong in their connection with nature, and I am just tapping on their expertise, and together we learn more about the nature of this very unique island. And the interesting, which we can discuss later, is not so much about the discovery, but about the not so much about the discovery of the species, but the discovery of the strength of indigenous people and local communities.
Before we get there, though, Pak Didi, can you please just share a little bit more to us about what is the name of the species and how was the discovery in finding out more about this species?
Okay, thank you. The species, actually not one, but maybe a dozen species in Peleng Island. Um, Many of the species are very little known, and even some recently discovered to science by my good colleague Frank Ryan and the collaborators uh, from Indonesian Agency for Research and Technology, BRIN. So unique because Pelang Island has about a dozen species and subspecies that occurs nowhere else in the world. And in Indonesia, only one other place is like this, namely Sangi Talaut Islands. Sorry, Peleng Island is in the Banggai Archipelago between Central Sulawesi and Maluku, and one of the icon is the critically endangered Banggai crow. So it occurs only half of the island, so that is why it is critically endangered. And not only the not only the birds, but also other species, including mammal. They even have the endangered Peleng tarsier, that is among the smallest monkey in the world, and also two species of cuscus. Cuscus is a kind of uh, marsupial. Marsupial is like kangaroo, the cute wombat, and so on. But this is a primate. Oh, sorry. This is a marsupial. Um, the primate is the Peleng tarsier, the very small monkey and active only at night that I mentioned to you.
Well, we can see from the
So if
pictures
I mention,
there.
there will be a dozen, but maybe suffice to say uh, most uh, the most uh, the most prioritized species is the Banggai crow.
Banggai
And
crow.
it is a very special crow because if you hear crow, you hear the sound that is not cawing, that is not really pleasant to hear. But this one, they whistle. And as far as I know, only one other species, namely the piping crow, has this kind of vocalization. So they are not like other crows in Indonesia because they have very nice vocalization and they live deep in the forest. Okay.
It's very interesting to hear what you said, and of course, we are looking at the pictures on the screen, and these animals are so unique, and it's really good that we have found and we are currently preserving all these animals in Banggai Island. Pak Didi, can you share with us what is the what is the importance of preserving these species, and how do we go about it?
Sorry, you are talking about the importance of the species, right?
Yes, yes.
Um, so this species is unique because it occurs nowhere else in the world. So uh, many people comes to see the unique flora and fauna of the Peleng Island of Banggai Archipelago, including the Banggai crow. And when it was first announced, the bird watchers, we call it we call people who like to go all over the world to watch birds as bird watchers. They chartered a boat from the city of Bitung. I think it's $6,000, but uh, uh, so high their motivation to see the species. And of course, it has a role to play in the forest. We call it the ecological role. So the species is an insect eater. What do? They control the population of insect. They help uh, insects not to, to spill over to human habitat and become pests, and they help uh, insect to regulate the population. So only the fittest will survive. And also they I mean the Banggai crow, we call it insectivores, as insect eaters. They can help transfer energy to the food chain. For instance, larger predators like eagles and so on, they can consume the insectivores. So it is really a food chain that the Banggai crow help to regulate.
And what is the role, Paridi, of the Research Center for Climate Change at the University of Indonesia in preserving or in preservation of this species in particular?
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Oh yes, and what is the role, Padidi, of the Research Center for Climate Change at the University of Indonesia in helping the preservation of this new species?
Okay, yeah. So Research Center for Climate Change Universitas Indonesia does research about mitigation and adaptation of the uh, ecosystem and the people who live around the forest margins. So along the way, we also look at the biodiversity. Biodiversity is part of what is called non-carbon benefit because the forest can now be kind of monetized for its ecosystem service, namely carbon. But at UI, and I also mentioned Institute for Sustainable Earth and Resources that really focus on the wider things beyond climate change. It is established by Professor Yatna Supriyatna, who is a famous conservation biologist as well. So we do not only climate change, but also biodiversity, and even we learn about how people can better adapt to climate change.
Pak Didi, you mentioned earlier in the interview, in this dialogue, that the role of the community of the people in Banggai Islands is very important. Can you explain to us more what are their role in preserving all these rare animals?
Yeah. After about 18 years working together with the indigenous people and local communities, they transform our knowledge as a researcher, meaning that we learn their local wisdom, and even from the very beginning we do research, we learn from them how to detect the rare species. But I think your question is about how the community is transformed, right?
Yes.
So initially they reject the researchers because they said, Pak Indrawan, please do not come and research in our place because then you will want to conserve the forest, and we need the forest for our agriculture. So that is their first reaction. And of course, I complied. And several years later, I took them for the first study tour to another place, namely Tangkoko Nature Reserves. And they learned that actually the local communities can benefit from ecotourism if they conserve the species. Then people will come and appreciate the protection and learn about the species from the indigenous people and local communities. So they learn about that, and then after I think about 12 years, they turn themselves into conservation heroes. Of course, all the while, researchers are closely maintaining collaboration with them, but they have a very strong personality and very strong social capital, and it is amazing the things that they do to protect and even to revitalize the ecosystem.
Pak Didi, you mentioned just now that the community was not very happy with the researcher going into their forest. How did you end up persuading them to be more open about having the researchers to do the research and finding out more about the animals in the forest?
Yeah. So firstly, we put ourselves not smarter than them. We respect the what is called traditional ecological knowledge, or the other words would be indigenous and local knowledge. Of course, we do not preach about conservation, and I think it is not appropriate to preach to them about conservation because they are intelligent enough and they know about they know about the value of nature conservation. It is in their local traditions. So what we did is we help them to rebuild their cultural identity. This is an approach called biocultural, whereby they already know about nature and how to conserve them. So all we did is not, not introducing outside values, but just encouraging them to rebuild their conservation values that is in their culture.
And Pak Didi, looking forward towards the horizon, what are some of the plans in the future now that we've had this rare species discovery and working together with the local communities? What do you hope will come out of this collaboration in the future?
Okay, thank you for that difficult question, but I think in the future, we will have endangered species being taken care by the indigenous people and local communities. And of course, this will involve restoring the habitat, whether it is by planting trees or by doing what is called smart agriculture. But uh, we believe they will continue to be stewards of the words uh, biocultural heritage. I'm saying this is the words because in my travels around Indonesia, not many people are behaving like them. Of course, there are like in West Sulawesi, the Mamasa people of Gandang Dewata, of course, they are also very strong in biocultural and Kajang, and in Java, Baduy, and even in Papua, like Korowai communities, they are very strong in their interaction with nature. And if I may add, we have a really good anticipation because they have kind of set up their own community conservation areas, because usually this is by the government, but this is more independent by the local communities. And also they benefit from our research. For instance, Miss Anissa Hasana from Department of Geography, University of Indonesia, which I helped with her thesis. Miss Anissa, she showed that some places, if you allow it to erode, it could really be disaster to the villages. So we are using disaster lens, and this is also appealing to the local communities because in an this is a small limestone island, and the soil, and it is very steep, and the soil is not deep, so it's very easy to get uh, flooding and uh, uh, erosion. So this is not only about biodiversity anymore, but also about disaster risk reduction. So I believe these people, together with researchers, managed to produce new knowledge that probably not much done before, and hopefully this can contribute to the sustainability knowledge of Indonesia, not only in that place, but how the local indigenous people and local communities interact and develop their knowledge. Recently, if I may add, the indigenous people and local communities, they are recognized with awards, not one, but multiple awards from Ministry of Environment and Forestry for climate resilient village, and even also one international Charles Southwick Award for conservation education. So of course, it is not about the awards, but it is more about recognizing what the indigenous people and local communities can do, and setting the highest bar possible to do that.
Pak Didi, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on how to preserve these animals. And of course, I mean, we are so very grateful that you have been connecting to these indigenous communities around Indonesia, bridging us with them, and of course, helping them too, giving them more knowledge on how to save these animals. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and we wish you all the best for your future trips around Indonesia. Thank you, Pak Didi.
Thank you,
Stay
Pak Didi.
healthy.